start with some announcements. I see some folks have already added some stuff into the announcements. Marie, do you want to talk about the CFP for Nest?
Sure. Yeah. Um, sorry, put on the spot. The CFP for Nest is open. It's open a lot earlier than last year, so we definitely have some time. But it would be nice to kind of get that in there at some point in the next month or so, maybe. And I would encourage the folks doing the revamp to do something there about the revamp. I'm not sure if we want to do a presentation or maybe get people involved. It's up to the team how you want to go with the presentation. I'm just here to support. Um, the council is actually just talking about like themes and directions for Nest, and one of the things we want to do is kind of cater to some of the newer folks that we're seeing in the community. So having some kind of an get started with websites and apps team could be um, a cool session to do. I think that's all I really have to say about it. Is there any questions about the CFP or Nest in general?
I guess for me, it'll be a good question about maybe part of the discussion we're having around the objective is just thinking about what our milestones would be for Nest this year. Like, what do we want to have? What do we hope to have accomplished by Nest? And then that could help answer the question of, do we want to do a talk? Do we want to do a workshop? I think it's just a little tough because we're still like it still feels really early on, but this is going to be 3 or 4 months down the line. So hopefully we'll have some good stuff to talk about then.
I think we could wait like a month. Could wait like a couple weeks and revisit the topic, see what we get accomplished, and where our path's taken us. Justin, quick question for you. What's your username in HackMD? It's like if I put in Justin Flory, well, I'm working on the team space.
JWF.
JWF. Okay, thanks.
Cool. So I'll just make a note that we can keep that on the CFP for Nest just on the agenda as a floating announcement, just so we can check in on it every week. But for now, just to get the idea out there, folks can start looking at the CFP details, start thinking about what we could bring to Nest this year. And what do you have the dates off the top of your head too, Marie? Or it's
August 5th through 8th, I want to say. Let me take a look at this. I think there's this Comblog article will say.
Yes, it's, I believe, 5th to 8th. We were just talking about this in the Fedora India meet.
So I just noticed that John's on the call, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but John is from OSPO, my team at Red Hat, and he's been with us for some time. He works closely with Miss. So I just wanted to say hi, John, welcome, and to add your name into the HackMD. And also, if you could sign into HackMD, that would be great. You can use your Google account to do so, and then I can add you to the team workspace.
Hi Marie, thanks for that introduction. And I will sign into Google through Google right now.
Welcome, John. Cool. So next announcement, moving on with the announcements, the next one we have is just a note that the CPE team is hiring. I don't see a CPE any folks here today, so I think they're hiring for some new positions. Some folks are leaving the team after a really long time. some new positions are opening up. Feel free to signal boost that or look into the details on the community blog if you're interested to learn more. And Fedora 34 elections. Marie, do you want to talk about that? Should I?
So basically, if are folks aware of how the elections work? I don't want to. Basically, they're open, and I think there's a seat in Mindshare, a seat on council, and maybe multiple seats in Vesco, or 4 seats in Vesco. So those are all open, and you can self-nominate, or if you want to nominate someone else, just talk to them first about that. And I'm not sure when that ends. Maybe Justin has that info. When the nomination period ends.
I think it's May 12th.
Okay. So about
I'm
five more days.
Unsure.
Right. Cool. And
so can you just give a quick overview of what exactly the team does? What
sure.
exactly a elected
So-
person is expected to do?
So for the council, we definitely have docs for this. Maybe Justin can grab some links or someone can grab some links while I chat about it. The council, I'd say that the main responsibility is showing up to meetings and looking at the different tickets and weighing in your opinions and thoughts on those. And then sometimes it'll come to question of policies or a way we want to move, a direction we might want to move with the project, collaborations with other organizations. Those are the types of things that the council reviews. And then 2 or 3 times a year, we have a face-to-face. We've been doing them virtually. We just had one yesterday. And so those are usually, what we've been doing online is like 3-hour blocks every couple months, basically. And that's just a chance for us to have some high bandwidth time to really get through some topics and get into some deep conversations. If we're in real life, we would be getting together in some awesome location to do that and have some time together in person. So that's a summary of an overview of what the council does. The Mindshare Committee is basically the way I view it. Now, different people view it different ways. Hi, Ashton. Talking about the Mindshare Committee. So I forget who I was talking about this. Maybe it was Ben. And I was telling him what my idea with the Mindshare Committee meant. And he was like, wow, I've always viewed it this way. So my idea is that it's all the different minds coming together and we're sharing what's happening and basically coming together to strengthen all the separate teams, to enhance communication between the teams and to make sure that we're kind of working efficiently overall, because there's a lot of overlapping work that could be happening. And so I try to bring that down and get people, Mindshare helps to do that. But there are similar responsibilities. There is a weekly meeting there. I think we would do face-to-faces, but I don't think it was ever something that was fully established, or maybe they only did it at Nest or at Flock rather. So mainly it's just the meetings. We look at things like sponsorships to events, swag requests and new types of swag. We look over the different social media accounts and kind of make some decisions about that. We run events. So, basically I'm in organizing the events, but the Mindshare Committee, we kind of make decisions about how it should be. So I hope that, and then FESCO is a steering committee over the engineering side of Fedora that focuses on making decisions about policies in the engineering aspects. I am not as familiar with FESCO, so if someone else is, feel free to add more to that, but that's my basic understanding of FESCO.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so nominations are open until May 12th. So the place to do those nominations, I think it's linked in the community blog post that was in the HackMD, but there's wiki pages. So you have to just sign in with your Fedora account to edit the wiki page to make a nomination. And you can self-nominate, or if you want to nominate someone else, just have a conversation with them first before putting their name up there. So those are the announcements in the HackMD. Anyone else want to add an announcement before we look at action items from last time?
Could I just share like a personal project that I've been working on that's kind of helpful for this? Awesome. I'm working on writing an app that'll it's kind of a scraper that goes and documents all of like the link, what's it called? Sorry, I'm just waking up. The paths attached to a website. So it'd be like, it would take your subdomain or your second level domain and you'd input that at the root level. And then it'll just kind of like go through and find all the links and copy all of it into a JSON file and then export it. So like if we want to like make HackMD links, like we have the links so far going, or if we want to put it into a CSV for other types of organization, it'll like have that kind of an export. And I've been thinking that could be a good way to save time on mapping out all the Fedora websites.
Awesome. Do you have any like GitHub repo for it yet, or this is just still like a concept idea you're thinking on?
I do have a GitHub repo I can share. I just got like some of the JSON stuff figured out last night, and I'm moving on to next steps, but I can share that.
Yeah, drop a link in the chat, and we'll make sure to get that into the README and the minutes too.
Awesome.
Any other announcements?
So Ashton, is it making use of requests in order to make sure that it reaches out to pages and figures out what issues to take care of? How's it doing?
I haven't really gotten to that part of it yet. I've only just been like setting up how it like processes JSON for it's in Python, so it's turning dicts into JSON objects. I wanted to like get it to scan the page for like H1s for a page title, and then scan the headers in order to get like status codes and stuff like that. I'm not too sure about scanning requests. Like, would that just use the Python requests module?
I kind of used that previously when I was writing a code for migrating issues from Pegyo to GitHub down when we were having Hacktoberfest. So requests could have been the right way forward, but if there is an efficient way that you think you might have acquired, then I believe that can be explored as well. So drop the link to your GitHub repository, and I'll take a look.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Cool. Any other announcements? Going once? Going twice? And sold. All right. So quick look at the action items. Most of these things we actually finished. Well, most of it was release party stuff, which is already done and passed. And I think I wasn't able to go there on Saturday. Does anyone want to just recap how that went from the release party? I don't know, Ramya or Akash or Marie or all of you.
Ramya, I believe it should be neither of us because we were the people who gave the talk.
No. You should definitely be you guys.
Yeah.
You should be you folks. Yeah, talk about your experience.
How about you go first, Ramya?
Okay. It was really nice. I mean, I was not as nervous as I thought it would be. So it was good. I was able to give the information, and in the end, I realized that like a lot of folks were interested, and there were some interesting questions. It went well. From my opinion, I think it went well, I guess.
So I had things sorted out because I was running on Rails. I had my speaker notes on, and I was mostly referring to it. So there was not a single point of time when I was like, okay, so what should come next? But there were a couple of questions, especially related to the packages application that Fedora community maintains that I was not able to answer for. So we were able to answer most of the questions, but there were some questions, a few of them, maybe 10 to 20%, which we were not able to get up with a convincing answer. So that's the only thing. Apart from that, Ramya did awesome. She just winged it, and she was really great. I like to believe that I did great as well until I'm not. So yeah,
You
that's
did.
that.
You were great. You answered most of the questions. So
Thanks.
Yeah, I thought that you did a great job. My one piece of feedback was that you went really fast. You spoke quickly, but I think that's normal. I think you ended up getting through your content in maybe like 10 minutes, and we had talked about trying to do like 15 to 20. So I know we practiced a little bit longer. I don't know if stuff was cut out or what happened, but yeah, you ran really quick through it. So you have to take your time and breathe. But the content was great, and you guys pulled it off great.
thank you, Marie. We'll
Thanks,
keep the
Marie.
timing next time in mind.
Yeah, actually, I was
Were
worried
you
that would take longer. So, that's why I went fast. But we'll keep that in mind.
maybe you were a bit anxious about running out of time a bit, or
Yes,
maybe
exactly.
mhm.
Exactly. That was the
That's
point. I was thinking like, so there was a lot of ground to cover, and who knows? So there's this another talk that I had to give. Apparently, it was about joint seg. So I was like, maybe if I would bleed into that talk, then that would not be something that should happen. So that is the reason why I think I went fast. Uh, I don't think there can be any other reason as to why I could do it.
one advice that I can give is, if you know that you have say 10 slides to talk through and you have 10 minutes, try to divide it roughly around 1 minute. And I tend to do this a lot, especially when I'm talking virtually. Fedora has the time bar on top. So I just keep looking at that just to uh, remind myself, okay, I started talking about this on 7:23 p.m. Okay, so I'll probably talk about this till 7:24 p.m. And once it's 7:24, then I'm like, okay, pull the brakes, go to the next one. And if I'm finishing early, I make sure that I finish the next slide a bit later.
Yes, that's going to be helpful. Thanks, Ayak.
Thanks, Ayak.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the recording. I don't know, is there a timeline on those yet, or is it still work in progress?
So we actually got set up with a space on Fedora People with a video. So I'm connected to that anyway. I've put the videos up there, and Anorup is going to be editing them. He said that he was going to be getting that done this month, and I need to get him cover slides. That's the status of that, but we're hoping to have them out by June.
Excellent. Cool. All right. So that's helpful on the release party piece, and then looking at the YouTube as well. I remember that we had started to look into that, but there was a question of who owned Fedora social media or Fedora project social media at gmail.com. Is that
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so after you gave out the email address, which said something Google something, so I emailed that address and then mentioned that we would like to get the access so that we can upload our meetings. I'm from so and so team, and then wondering if what's the process to get the access to upload. I did not get any reply yet. Thinking maybe we should wait for another week. Not sure. Do they have like a repo or something where we can open a ticket? I don't know which one would be faster. Or
I'm sorry, I actually missed the first part. Did you say you contacted Edward and you have not heard a response yet?
Yes, I did contact Edward last week or maybe before that, and he said that he doesn't know what's the process to add anyone else to, like, he has the access, but he doesn't have the access to actually add others to get the access. So he said that I should probably contact the YouTube, whoever handles the YouTube. So I asked a question in the comments, and Justin and Misk responded, and they gave me an email address. So I didn't email the address Misk gave me, but I did email the address the one Justin gave. I think 2 days back. I didn't hear back yet. Maybe a week or so, probably.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm wondering if if the social communications team has a repo or something, or a channel.
So, with the social media accounts, it's managed by, well, there's only limited people who have access to it. And the main access person is a gentleman named Brian Profit, who actually works in the open source program office. So it's not something that can be, there's no public way to access that. It's very much locked down. Justin, sure.
Yeah, so just to add some context, I had dug into this because I have access on the YouTube, and there are ways, just like I have access on my personal Gmail to log into the Fedora YouTube and upload. There's some context here. The original Google Plus page for Fedora, which is tied to, well, when that was a thing, which was tied to YouTube, was created by Matthew Williams, who passed away a few years ago, and he was the owner of that account. There was some kind of communication that happened with Google after he passed about how we were handling permissions, and the owner of the account now, I noticed, is now this email address, Fedora Project Social Media at gmail.com. I'm kind of thinking that's Brian Profit, but what we need is someone to log in from that account and go to the Google settings to how you add like managers, account managers, which is the same way I'm added, the same way Eduard's added, but the only person who can do that is the account owner, which I'm assuming is Brian, but the only definite thing we have is the email address that I put in the chat. Hopefully that context helps kind of.
Okay, so Brian's my coworker. I'm going to just message him right now and ask. See what happens.
Awesome.
Cool. So we can follow up on that one after, once we hear back. And same for the other action, the pending action item is the win is good, which we'll follow up with the response hopefully within the next day or two, definitely before the next meeting. Just we don't have the results in front of us right now from the poll.
Yeah.
So those were all the remaining action items from last week. The topics that we have for discussion this week was really just going to be two things. There was the meeting time, but we already talked about that. There was the council ticket, which I know, Ramya, you I think added this one to the agenda. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yes. So I have the link to the ticket that I opened with the council about the objective, and Ben responded saying that they didn't come across any issues at the moment. So he asked me to move forward with the next process, which is policy process. So he asked me to work on the com blog. I do have a draft for the com blog. I also have the link in the Hack'em Day. If you all can take a look at it and then give me your feedback and review on it, it would be great.
Sure.
Ramya, do you have a preference for when you'd like to get feedback from everyone? Like in a week, couple weeks?
Maybe we can look into it next meeting, or I think for now, let's keep it with the next meeting, I think.
Okay, so we can take this next week, unless anyone has questions now or wants to walk through it. That's definitely fine too, but we can take some time over this next week to review it async, and then at the next meeting, we can do a final review before we ship it off on the com blog. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. So just going to add that to the agenda really quick. Okay, so have that in the meeting notes. The next thing, or really the only other agenda item that was on for today, was just talking about.
Did we finish the to-do list? I wanted to talk about the HackMD team space.
Oh, yeah, I totally missed that. Go for it, Marie.
Sorry, I was writing the message to Brian. I didn't realize we had moved on. So I made the team space, and I just very quickly wanted to show how to put a note there. So I was hoping that all the different docs that various people own, we can put into the team space so we can all kind of have, the full directory. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'll share my screen. All right, so I'm just going to make a new note real quick. This is made in my workspace. So I'm just doing test note right here. And then I can go right here and do transfer ownership. And it will be for teams that you've joined. And then you would move it to the website and apps team. Click transfer. And then when you go back here in your workspace, it's not there. You then go to the website and apps team workspace, and the document is now in there. So anyone, if you have any docs, the scratch pad, the blog posts, etc., if we could all put them in here for everyone's reference, that would be awesome. And that's all I have. And I'm going to delete these test notes. Okay, that's it.
That is so cool.
So sounds like we'll just have to transfer some of the ones we already have open over into there. And only the note owner, the original creator, can do that?
Yeah, I don't have the option on the scratch pad. So it must be the owner.
Okay, so we can try to do a roundup of the various HackMDs as we come across them. And
Rami is the owner.
For the scratch pad, we also have the objective one.
Yes, so I'm going to add that as my action item, saying that whatever I own, I'm just going to transfer everything.
Cool, that works. And we might have a few others lying around because I know I made one at one point, so I'll try to go through. Like, oh, Matthew Miller owns one, so we'll have to follow up with him too. Okay.
There was one which I made regarding the inventory of issues that websites and apps has to take care of, so that's there as well.
Yeah, so maybe that is an action item for the group, another everyone action. Cool. Anything else on HackMD, Marie, or all set? Cool.
Where was that one? Do you have the link for that?
I
The teams.
think. I don't know if this requires login. Here's the one I have.
I invited Ashlyn. I invited you to the space, Ashlyn. So you should have it as a drop down on your top left.
Okay, cool.
So the way it goes is you need a login because that's the team that your account is associated to, and that's how you get the group of nodes related to that specific team. So yeah, it does require audit.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right. So next thing on the agenda was we're going to look at the Taiga board for today and try to see or give an overview or tour of how that will work. I have a first draft sort of set up here. I figured I could run through it with the screen share, and then we could talk about if there's any questions, or we could just do some silent editing, putting some stuff in there. But I'll start with a quick walkthrough and overview of what we have here so far. So I'm going to share the link to the board in the chat, and you will be able to sign into this website with your Fedora project account, but you won't have an account until you sign in for the first time. So it should be a public board to be viewable, but you can only edit it once you log in with an account that has access. If you like to have access, just shoot me a message offline with your email address for your Fedora account, and I'll add you. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into the screen share. I think this is the one. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Perfect. So
Yep.
it's nothing too wild or unusual for the Kanban structure. I don't know how familiar folks are with it, but we've used it with the Pagor board. It's similar layout here with Taiga. So we have all these different cards that we can drop around and move to different columns. And actually, if I zoom out, I can make it a little more compact here just to show all these columns that we have. The way that I've seen it work successfully before is trying to think of coming up with a sprint period or how long we want to work on different tasks. So where I've seen this work well is to say, okay, the to-do column might represent the next 2 weeks of work from May 10th until May 24th. And so you put all the things you want in there, and then you can start thinking about, well, what are the things we want to work on in the next sprint? And then you can have a backlog of all the other ideas and creative things that are super, great ideas, but you just don't have time to work on them just yet. There's also this waiting on external. Well, it's a little hard to read in this view, but waiting on external. This one is just if you have something that's blocked on another person or another external project or factor or infrastructure. One of these cool things of Taiga, which I'll show as I get into the user stories or these cards, is how you can mark a card as blocked. But I'll come back to that one. And then same thing, in progress, done, archived. Pretty straightforward. I usually keep the done column to represent cards that were completed in that sprint cycle. So if you're working in that, this is May 10th to May 24th, that way at the end of a sprint, you can see, okay, what are all the things that we accomplished for these 2 weeks before you put them away into the archived column where they'll disappear. Another couple of things before I'll go into the user stories. You might see some of these numbers at the top of every column, and some of them have a counter. All of them are telling you how many cards are in that column. Some of these columns have a maximum, and this is partly a guide to help us think about bandwidth and how much time we have. So like in progress, you can only have 3 cards in the in progress column at once. It's trying to keep it that we don't have too many things going on at once. Same for a sprint. For now, I just used 5. We can always change these to something else. And then I used for backlog, I put 20. Now we can always change these later, but this is the Kanban. I got to look up the pronunciation there, but this is the Kanban view.
It's just Kanban.
Kanban. Thanks. So now I want to look into or go into the user story piece. Oh, and actually I'm not logged in, so that's why there's a lot of things missing here. Let me do that really quick. Okay, let's go back to the board. And now I should have a little bit more going on here. There we go. So now you can see I have these little plus buttons. Now that I'm signed in and I have edit access, there's also these little plus buttons. If I wanted to add a new story to one of these columns, that's how I would add a new card. So let's say I wanted to add one for to do. Let's say I want to update Flask version on Moat. So I don't think I'm using tags here yet, so that won't matter right now. But we can say version XY has a CVE, other details, whatever you want to put other in the box. This is where you can also choose an assignee if you know who you want to give it to. So you can see once we get more folks on the board, you can always pick an assignee for a card. So let's say Akash is working on Moat. So we'll say this one is for Akash. And now here's where we talked about those points, those rating systems of like those SMART goals. Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it actionable, realistic, time bound? You can click on all of these and you'll see you'll have these options for yes, somewhat, no. And these all give different points. I'm just kind of choosing different things here just to give you an idea. So this card would end up being scored as 6 points. And I was like, well, actually, we need to get this done now because the security thing, you see it adds a point there. Another thing to look at here when you're adding a user story is you also have these buttons down here on the bottom. Most of them won't matter. I'm only going to talk about 2 of them. You can give a due date to a card as well. Of course, that's a Taiga bug as I have to zoom out to get this to show. But you can see I can give a due date. So let's say we want to get this done by that next Friday meeting. We'll say next Friday. Question in the chat. Okay. So gave it a due date, and you can also, this is where you can mark something as blocking. You can give a reason, but since it's a new story, I'm not going to try that out right now. So we'll create this one. Here's a new user. Taiga calls them user stories, but tasks, cards, whatever works. So you can see here's the new card, and you can see there's a little 7 points indicator out of 10 points, so we can get an idea of how well scoped is the task. You can see the due date, which in this case we see it's May 14th. We've got about a week to work on it, and it's assigned to Akash. And it maybe, oh, you can assign multiple people. Cool. So yeah, or if we even want to say the whole team, I could put the whole team on it, right? So here's just the overview of the user stories. I mentioned you can mark them as blocking. So let's say that we had something like, oh, we need CPE team to provision us some infrastructure, and we're waiting on Vipul to get us an answer back on something. We can say, oh, we want to block this one on pending an answer, whatever you want to put. And you'll see now it has this, card is blocked, and it gives you the reason right on the top. And if you look at the board, the whole card shows up as red. It's got this lock on it. It's a really helpful way to visualize when something is stuck or you're waiting on something else that's unexpected or doesn't go as according to plan. Okay, so that's a lot of me talking and trying to go through this. Just to give some other context before I'll switch over to questions and for Q&A or see what folks are thinking. I put all of the outcomes from the objective as cards in the backlog. So there was also that thing about subtasks. Now we could decide to keep these and break them down with smaller subtasks and do it that way, or we could decide that we don't want these. I just put these as more or less as placeholders for now, just to give us an idea of how it works and just to play around with the tool. So I'll go ahead and pause there and see what folks are thinking, if you have any questions on anything that I just ran through here.
This looks awesome. Quick question, I missed that bit. Justin, where are we supposed to email to get access to the board?
So it's your fast email. If you've signed in to teams.fedoraproject.org,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
should be able to add you. Let me see if I can
Okay. I
edit
already
you.
signed in and I tried accessing the board. Seems like I'm not a member, so I
So
can't.
you need to mail to Justin. You need to reach out to Justin stating the mail ID if that is what you're mentioning about Sayak.
Yeah, just drop it in
Because
the
Yeah.
Jitsi chat, and if you've signed in, I'll just add you right now.
yeah, just let your email
Yeah,
know.
I'm already signed in.
Yeah.
I don't see myself as member either.
My
All right. So just drop your email in the chat, and I'll make sure to add you to the board so you
Yep.
can have edit rights. Are
Yep.
there any other questions or comments on the project board or?
I need to be logged into the thing as well. What you said all makes sense though.
Perfect. And yeah, for Taiga, it doesn't work with your fast username. I actually need the email address you use. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's also my Tiger username, apart from the. So
It's supposed to sync with profile pictures, but I guess if you just sign in, it takes some time.
yeah, it takes the Gravatar profile picture, so I had to actually manually go into Gravatar and update my profile photo across my emails.
Okay, so I'm just adding Sayak, you're on the board, and I'm going to
Hey.
add Ashlyn now. Okay. Perfect. So Ashlyn and Sayak, you should both now have
Yep.
edit access to the board. And just let me know if it doesn't work after a refresh.
It was great for me.
So a lot of, I think, with this tool, it's going to be, I just set it up based on a template, and I shared some ways that I've used these tools before. A lot of how, we'll have to figure things out as we go with this. There might be things that work really well, and there might be things that don't. So there's some room to be flexible here, just like with the limits on how many cards can be in a column. Things are pretty flexible in Taiga. So if you think there's something that's not working, definitely just raise it as a, bring it up in discussion, or be like, this feels really weird, or like, why are we doing it this way? That's always a good thing to bring up. As far as workflow goes, the way I'm going to propose using this is, I actually think this would replace the agenda topic part of the meeting agenda. So instead of what we've been done to date so far of just updating, the meeting agenda before the meeting, we'd actually be able to use the Taiga board to guide that discussion. So, instead of writing things out on the HackMD, I mean, we'd still be taking notes, but we'd look at the Taiga board and see like, okay, what's in progress? What updates do we have on? Well, I did the technical one of like updating Moat, but let's say it was one of like, where are we on trying to create documentation for the website's work? And if that's in progress, we can go through that. Whoever's assigned to it could give updates. So it saves us a little bit of time on the agenda writing, so we don't have to do that prep work as much, which can get tiring if you're always the same person doing that. At least we rotate our chairs here, so it's a little better, but it just saves a little bit of manual work and helps keep us visually organized. So I just wanted to share that maybe I think it's a lot of information. So maybe just, if there's not a lot of questions right now, that's okay too. But just make sure that you have access, poke around, and Marie, I think you should have access, yeah, to your Red Hat email. And Jan, if you drop your email, it's not the Fedora project email. It has to be um, the original, or the email you use to sign
Don't
up
you
with
see it
Fedora.
on the chat?
Oh no, I just missed it. You
I
didn't share it.
also sent it to you a couple of weeks ago, and you said that you will do it in the evening. I'm
Oh
just
no,
waiting for the evening.
I'm sorry. Well, You are in it
No
now.
problem.
There we go. Cool. And I'll add John there as well. Since I'm here, I'll just do this all at once. I also think anyone else can add someone to the board because I'm making you all admins, but we'll take some. It'll take some time to learn Taiga. It can be a little tricky at first, but with some practice, with some habit, it gets a lot easier, and I think it'll help keep us organized. So that's all I had for the demo. I know we have about 10 minutes left for the meeting today, so I just want to leave time for well, if there's any questions on the Taiga board, but also just open floor if anyone has anything else they want to bring up that didn't. I see Marie raised her hand, so I'll pass it to Marie.
So I just wanted to check in on communication between this team and the infrastructure team and see where we're at, if we're providing them regular updates, and if we should maybe put that into our weekly meeting, or maybe we want to do it monthly. I'm not sure, but I just want to make sure that they're aware of what we're working on. So maybe we could send them this Taiga board and kind of invite them to take a look at that. And then I guess we're having our meeting on Friday again next week, so we could invite folks to come to that potentially. So I just want to make sure that we are doing that regularly. Maybe we want to put it into our weekly meeting notes. Do we have anything to communicate to the infrastructure list?
I think one thing that could help with this conversation, especially knowing how active and busy and historic the infrastructure list is just when it makes sense or what information we should be sharing more regularly. And actually, I see Vipul is here, even though I know Fridays are usually a no meeting day. So I appreciate, I don't know if he's got a mic on or if he's in chat.
Oh, hey, I'm here. Sorry, I was in a Fedora India meeting, so I couldn't join this. We are starting that once again, and our poll of what time suits everyone happened to clash with this time. So
All good. Well, I'm glad you could be here. I'm just wondering, did you catch the context for that question?
yeah, sending more information to Fedora infrastructure list. Can you repeat that question?
Guidelines of, so knowing that the
Okay.
infrastructure list is very busy and that we're still trying to figure out where we communicate, like what kinds of things should we be thinking about that stand out that we should share with the infrastructure list? When does it make sense to post there?
So infrastructure list is not really that active. If I had to think, it would be average 2 to 3 emails per week, to be honest. It's not really that active.
Are we thinking of the devel list?
Devel list is very active, yeah.
Yeah, so infrastructure is a different list.
Yeah, and any changes with infrastructure when you're trying to work on new application, that would be good to let infrastructure folks know so that they can help before if there is any issue with redeploying it or something like that. So if you're starting to work on a new set of application that you want to pick on, it would be good to have a discussion there so that if anyone has any issues or someone can guide you to, we already know this person who was working on it. I don't really know exactly what kind of discussion happening here that you're planning to send there, so I can't give you a lot of context. But generally, if it has something to do with infrastructure, it would be good to let them know in advance to save both side of work, if it makes sense.
So I think that Pingu might have a different vision for this, and I think he needs to be the one to talk about it. But I think it's more than that.
Also, Pingu won't be working on Fedora infrastructure, to be honest. So maybe you need to look into someone who can invest more time.
So you probably shouldn't speak for other people, but saying that, I'm now going to speak for Pingu. In which he told me that no, he's not working on CP or infrastructure for Fedora, but he's actually very interested in what this team is doing, and he has a ton of historical knowledge that he would like to bring to this.
I agree.
So,
Okay.
So it's not that he's, please don't scare this team like that. Pingu is going to be here and helping us out. So I don't think he's planning to come to all of the meetings, but I think he has a vision for us incorporating the infrastructure team and the folks that existed there in that space. They still exist, but maybe not in that space. And I think he knows maybe how strongly they feel about these applications and how us just starting up somewhere else without incorporating them into it is not a great thing to do. We should be really constantly involving them in this revamp, in my opinion. They should know about it. And that was my idea behind a weekly update email, just one. And if we didn't have anything to say, we wouldn't have to say anything. But I think that they need to know, and we should be very vocal about what we're doing.
So maybe just to build on this, then we sometimes the meeting chair will post the minutes to or a summary of our meeting to the Fedora discussion forum that we have. I'm wondering if we should just do the same post twice, just once on Discourse and once on the infrastructure mailing list.
Yes, let's reduce the workload, definitely.
Cool. So I think we could probably tie that into the meeting chair responsibilities, just post meeting follow up. So I can do that one for today, but that way we can help rotate it and also get different faces on the infrastructure list, which actually it's a huge list. There's like 50 discussions, this 50 posts this month. So there's a good amount of activity there, but that's a good thing, I think. So cool. So with the last 2 minutes that we have of our time today, I do want to just look ahead to the next 2 meeting slots. We have May 14th, which is next week, and May 21st, which is 2 weeks out. We don't have a meeting chair yet. Is there anyone who would be interested in chairing a meeting in either next week or 2 weeks out? So you have a poll?
Okay, I can do the one. Okay. If no one is coming forward, I can share.
Yeah. Also,
Marie, did you?
Sean
the
has
reason I put
volunteered.
in the HackMD is the last 3 folks who chaired, just for context, were Ramya, Marie, and now me. So it'd be great if we can cycle it down to folks, to give other folks a chance to chair too. So I saw John volunteered. John, do you have a preference for which week? Next week or 2 weeks out?
No, sorry, I missed that one. I didn't mean to step on your toe.
2 weeks out would be better for me.
I could do next week.
Perfect. Cool. So I'll put Ashlyn down for next week, and then that's the 14th, and then John for the 21st. I have a dog who's ready to go out. So any other last follow-ups before we wrap up here in the last minute?
Nothing from my side.
We need to have something big ready for Nest, I guess.
We should.
Yes, that'll definitely be a follow-up topic for probably the rest of the month, just as we start to think about what we want to bring there, or what we hope to have done by Nest. So, alrighty, folks. Well, we are at the end of time, so I'll go ahead and stop the recording and get this up on YouTube soon. And in the meantime, have a nice weekend.
Have a nice weekend.
You too. Thanks, Justin.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.